And shall I proceed?
Most definitely.
All right. Thanks a lot. Well, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited about this session here tonight. I've been, as some of you know, I used to work for Microsoft for over a dozen years. So I've kind of got C# in my blood. And, you know, with this job at Algorand, we have 4 SDKs and that we support directly through the company, Java, JavaScript, Go, and Python. And C# is there. We got a community SDK, but I have never done an Algorand presentation in C#. So I'm just so excited about it, man. I'm back in my sweet spot, you know, so this is very good. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I got a great session here on blockchain. Blockchain, you know, is it coming? Well, no, it's here. That really is it. It's there's a lot of good use cases I'm going to go over, and let's go ahead and get started here. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to launch a poll, and I'm going to put in the link in the chat window here. I've got a few questions I'd like to answer to kind of get the makeup of the audience. So there is the link there. I am going to go ahead and get this going here. We'll just put this right over the screen. And I am going to start the first poll. So once you guys get that going, this here is just you know, what is your primary programming language? And we've got languages I mentioned there. We got C# at 100% real quick. Few JavaScript, few Python. Python seems to really be gaining speed, you know. So, and then the last choice I think on there was not a developer. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. There it is. Okay, now you can all see it. All right, so it looks like we've got quite a few that have participated here with this voting. About half of you. We'll wait this for a second. I'm going to have 2 more questions for you. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the next question. Okay, how experienced with blockchain are you? Brand new, a year or less, more than a year? Okay. Good number of you have answered that. Okay, and now let's do the last one here. And this is I was just curious on this. What IDEs do you use? I know Visual Studio and C# kind of go together because that's what we grew up with. And but I think when I started at Algorand about a year and a half ago, I really started using VS Code a lot. And of course, I still use Visual Studio to do Xamarin because you can't do that in VS Code. But just curious how many folks we got there. And so yeah, that's my scenario. The last 2, right? Visual Studio when using Xamarin, and pretty much VS Code for everything else nowadays is what I do. All right, great. That's great. It's a good number using both Visual Studio and VS Code. That's great. That's really great because I actually just published a tutorial I'll talk about a little bit on our website, and it's about using VS Code and doing some debugging with it on some of our source code, like to create accounts on the blockchain. So we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, thank you everybody. That was really nice of you to do that. I have a good idea now of what the makeup is of the audience. And I got 2 giveaways here today. This one here is going to be a $50 Amazon gift card. We have an excellent developer newsletter. It comes out every week. So you'll get a good read about the latest that's going on with blockchain and Algorand. So that is one of the giveaways. And so this link, I'm going to put that in the newsletter as well. Excuse me, in the chat window as well. And put that in there. So you have that available. And I do have some folks online here that are going to help me out, answer some questions. They're Algorand ambassadors, Destinia, Barika, Summit, and Rainin. So I'd like to give them a round of applause for helping out. So we'll be able to get all your questions answered. Also, I'll be stopping occasionally to do you know, some questions, and we also have one more thing I'm going to do, which is going to be a quiz about halfway through, just to make sure you are, you know, paying attention here. And we'll go ahead and you know, stop. Like I'll stop sharing the screen at some point, and I'll do, you know, some verbal questions. If we got any verbal questions, we can all chime in. The idea is I want to try to make it feel like, you know, we're together, you know, live in the same room, and so that's the idea. So if you also turn your videos on, that'd be great too, because then we can see your faces and all that good stuff. All right, so let's get going here. The big deal. What's the big deal about blockchain anyway? You know, it's really in the news a lot. A lot of folks are talking about it as a hot technology. Well, maybe you're just curious about it, right? You want to know what's going on with that. And what are some of the pros and cons as well with blockchain? And how about some use cases? This is another thing that really drives home the importance of blockchain, is once you start seeing what kind of solutions really are good solutions to build for, because of the benefits of blockchain. I think you'll get pretty excited about it, because there's a lot of great stuff here going on. So hopefully you get a clear case on that. Also, you know, very important to many of us is the job market. And, you know, what kind of a job market is there right now, you know, for blockchain developers. And we'll take a look at that. And how do I get started, as well as, you know, how do I get started building, you know, with C# or any real language of choice. So lots of good things there. So here's the agenda here for today. We're going to kind of start out with an intro to blockchain. Most of you are brand new, according to that poll we did up at the front. So we'll do a nice little section, an introduction to blockchain. Then we're going to go through some use cases. And then at some point, maybe in about an hour or so, we'll do a quiz. And that'll be another $50 Amazon gift card. And then we got, you know, features, community, and lots of code. And we'll be showing you demos throughout the session. All right, so basically, what is blockchain? Well, basically, it's a chain of blocks, and what that is, you consider a block basically a record in a database. It's a distributed database, and there are by distributed, I mean everyone's got a copy of it. You know, you have a copy, I have a copy, and it is distributed across the internet. And this is something that I think you know, when a block gets written to the blockchain, it has a relationship to a transaction type record. And this is how you can think of it. I got two record types, right? I've got a blockchain, I got a block record, and I've got a transactions, right? And you can have several transactions that belong to a block, and that's it. So, and a block is just really a moment in time, right? That these transactions are written. And so what happens here is basically, we want to start adding blocks to this. So the question becomes, how do I add blocks to it? And I heard somebody say Bitcoin early on when we were talking about some blockchain talk there in the intro. Well, blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, these are older blockchains, and they had something called a proof of work, and you know, they do forks, because the way it works there is, you know, you have this expensive equipment that will generate the next block, and everybody's up against each other, so no one knows who the winner is. So that's how all the forks get created until you do get a winner, and it takes about 10 minutes, right, to actually put a block in the blockchain, and that's proof of work. And you may have heard the term mining, right? So that's what they're doing there. Well, our blockchain, we don't do either of those. We don't do proof of work or forks with the Algorand blockchain. It's a modern blockchain. It's a much more efficient blockchain. And what we do is basically, I'm going to go back to this Byzantine generals problem and how we do our consensus, right? So basically what you have here, the way the story goes is, back in the day, you had several generals that needed to communicate together. And if, there's a lot of different reasons that messengers between these generals may not make it, right? And the communication may not be done. They can get sick, they can break a leg, they can, have a storm, they could get corrupted. I mean, there's a lot of reasons where the message would not get delivered. And so not only that, even if all of them got delivered, you still get the cost of like the number of people involved. You have the number of people involved versus the cost of doing this messenger kind of service, right? To make sure everybody is aware of it. So after a while, you get starting into some quadratic equations in terms of the cost. So if you have like 1 million generals, the cost is going to be like 1 million squared. So it really goes out of control very, very fast. Well, our founder of our company, Silvio Macaulay, figured it out. You really don't need everyone to participate. What you need is a representative sample. And so mathematics and the VRF function you see down there is a variable, a random function. Has actually been open sourced. We have that, and that's really the glue that keeps the blocks churning, on our blockchain. And it's very, very efficient blockchain. It only takes 5 seconds, to build a block versus 10 minutes. So right off the bat, you can see one advantage, right? With a 10-minute blockchain creation, doesn't lend itself too well for online, like point of sale transactions. So there's a 10-minute wait, right, before it actually you have transaction finality and it's written to the blockchain. I mean, the idea is good, but maybe the implementation leaves a little bit to be desired. So with the variable random function, it's all math, right? It's all statistics. And again, a representative sample is the key part of the concept here. And so now the way it works, you have the key idea. You get a small random number of committee with all users that are in that committee. And then the committee agrees on a block of transactions. And every member verifies transaction digitally and signs it. So what is the verification process? What does that consist of? Well, you got to make sure there's no double spending going on. You got to make sure there's enough funds in the account to make the projected transaction. And so when all that is good, then the block is added to the chain. And then the same thing goes over and over again. And then this happens every 5 seconds. For more information on this, I will have a link to the deck at the end. And we also have a YouTube channel, Algorand, so youtube.com/Algorand, and there is a good video on the protocol if you want to learn more about it. To me, I think that's really the most boring part about the blockchain is the protocol. Give me the tools. I want to build solutions on it. I want to see, learn more about what it's good for. So that's kind of what we're going to get into next here. And the first thing we want to talk about, when I first started, working with blockchain, there were 2 concepts here, permissioned versus permissionless. So a permissioned blockchain is a private blockchain, and a permissionless blockchain is a public blockchain. So in the way of a public blockchain, anyone could join it, read it, write it. They work with the blockchain. And by write it, I mean write it once, right? A blockchain is, like I started to say, a distributed database, or a ledger is really, it's a very simple database, right? You got 2 record types. And then, what you have here is the ability then where you can join the network, you can read and write to it, but ends up being a read-only database. And every block is cryptographically generated to get the next one. And so it easily detects any tampering that's going on in the blockchain. Which is one of the reasons that it is so exciting, right, to build solutions with this, because it's just a great way to have data integrity. That's really one of the biggest purposes of blockchain, is the integrity of the data. It's decentralized. No one has control over the network. It's secure, right? Data cannot be changed once it's validated. So these are all good things. And then you start looking at the private blockchain permission. So these are the types of blockchains that have restrictions on who is allowed to participate in the network, and allowed in to select transactions, which ones are going to do the transactions, and typically some kind of authentication is required in that. So types of blockchains, and I want to be clear on this, there are several different like quadrants, if you will, on this. And I think what we see here is a great way to, take a look at this. So when we talk about public blockchains, what most people are really talking about is a public open blockchain, first of all. It's a blockchain where anybody can write the data to the blockchain and anybody else can come along and read that data like we talked about. So a public blockchain performs like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin. And now Algorand are what we also refer to as a permissionless blockchain platform, meaning they really strive to, by design, increase to and protect the user's anonymity. But basically, you can always use these open public platforms to build a permission solution. You just need to be aware it's upon you, your architects, your developers, to create that permissioning model, and that starts with some kind of identity management system. So in Algorand, we have several mechanisms that can work on this, right? We have a note field, for example, in every transaction record that's free form. You can put any kind of structure you want into there. So any layer 2 app, which is an app that resides off of the blockchain as opposed to a layer 1 built right into the blockchain. So any layer 2 app can build anything permission they want, right? So Algorand will not enforce any permission rules, though it has to be done in a layer 2 app. So this long story short here, you can build any kind of solution you want here. You can do public and open, and with good examples of that, like currency, embedding, and video games. Public and closed in the upper left corner, you got voting records, right? So you want these public, you want everybody to be able to vote, but maybe you want it closed until all the results are in, Then in the bottom right, you get private and open. So some examples there. Supply chain is an awesome type of solution. We'll talk more about that as well. Government financial records fall in that category. And over on the left, you got private and closed in the bottom left, and that's where you get things like national defense, law enforcement, military. NASA, right, uses blockchain, for private and closed. So, these are all things that you'll see evolve here as we go through this presentation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop to share for a moment. And you can see my lovely face here. Hi, everybody. And I just want to see how we're doing. Anybody got any comments here? So far, so good? Okay. All righty. We'll continue on. Oh, I hear a little beep there. Anybody got something going on? No? Okay. All right.
I had one question, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, thanks.
You mentioned the layer 2 app. Could you explain that, what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. Basically, it's an app that's going to talk to the blockchain. So, for example, I have a Xamarin app I'm going to show you later on that I built, which is, a mobile app, right? But it's going to be talking and writing, information out to the blockchain. So it's once removed from the blockchain itself. Some blockchains have, like Ethereum, they have VMs, virtual machines, on the blockchain itself, on layer 1. And that is a very, very resource intensive way of putting functionality onto the blockchain. And we realize that. So we don't have any VMs. Everything is really lean and mean on the blockchain, with the goal in mind to be very robust and very performant and very scalable. And these are things that we'll talk more to, but basically the bottom line here, in your mind, what we're thinking about is layer 1 is kind of built right into the blockchain. That is the functionality that exists. And I'll talk about layer 1 features in a little bit that to give you some examples of that. And layer 2, you could think in your mind is maybe a C# app that I'm writing that's going to be utilizing the blockchain and writing and reading to and from it. That make more sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, great. Anybody else? Well, feel free, at any point while I'm presenting here, just like think of it like a in-person, presentation. And, I can't quite see you putting your hand up, but you can say, excuse me, Russ, got a question when you get a minute or something like that. And then we'll have you do it. So I like to try to keep this as interactive and engaging as we can today. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen once again. And we'll continue on to a really cool part of the presentation. And Barry, this is all brand new. You're gonna love this. So, right, blockchain coming. No, it's here, right? Widely used across all sections of the economy. I know the automobile industry is of interest to at least a few of you in the meeting here with Carvana. And then we got supply chain. Cyber security, another big, application area. Gaming, also good for blockchain, crowdfunding, and we're going to explain all of these, why, what the pros and cons are right now in terms of, what the problems are and how blockchain is a good solution for those type of verticals. Content and entertainment, right? All the copyright infringement that's going on, with artists, they're very concerned about that. Then also you get healthcare, right, too, is another one. So let's take a look at the automobile industry first. So the problem, right, and challenges, in some of this, is amplified in a lot of blockchain reports. I got these, I think from blockchain-council.org, but also China wrote a blockchain report for 2019, 2020. And a lot of these points are in the China blockchain report as well. The challenge is to track and verify automotive parts, as well as verify, how healthy this vehicle is, as well as, streamlining the supply chain and business processes. The supply chain is a big part, of the automobile industry, and providing data sharing regionally or globally is also a problem sometimes. It's centralized data centers could be, expensive to run. Also, they could be subject to denial of service attacks and hacks. We almost hear every day of a breach, a security breach in centralized data centers. So, they're under lock and key, but the hackers kind of figure out what that key is to get in there. And it's really alarming at just how often this is happening. And so the solution is basically what blockchain provides is transparency. And what that is about, it reduces the needs for checks and balances. It is immutable. It's a read-only ledger. It cannot be changed. And, you get peacefulness for manufacturers and customers and service centers because, of this transparency. A lot of times you can't really trust the partners that you're working with because you don't know them, and so this really presents a problem sometimes. And then you get to things like blockchain applications. Maybe you can do crypto tokens for offering a loyalty reward program to customers. Maybe a supply chain visibility with vehicle integrity. Maintain a tamper-proof log of all records. And in China, they were saying they were putting sensors into the engines now to really detect any kind of maintenance that's done. And that gets written out to the blockchain as well. And then details of wear and tear, of spare parts. And then helps manufacturers determine the actual resale value of the vehicle. When you have all this data available to you, then you can compare apples to apples, right? Really every step of the way. So these are, some, high level points, but really they talk to some of the major benefits of blockchain type solutions. So what I'll show you here is I got a couple of, I'm going to show you a demo here on AlgoDesk. Let me try this again. All right, here we just go. And on building tokens, right? We talked about tokens up here, crypto tokens. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this site. This is one of our partners developed this. And what we're really talking about with tokens here our assets, otherwise referred to as Algorand standard assets or ASA on the blockchain. And you can think of this as your own coin or your own token, or, you know, if you got a game you want to create and you want to issue tokens in the game, this is how you do it. Now, this is a visual way to go ahead and do this. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and start this up. I'm going to do asset management. These words that come up, this is going to be your private key. This is how you will sign or send money or algos or assets from your account, is from this particular mnemonic. Now, this gets, you know, generated into a 64-bit string, and but this is like the English version, and a lot of people will store this in their safe or into a wallet or into you know, someplace that's very, very safe is really the bottom line, because that's going to be the one that helps you send it. So what we're going to do here is create an asset, and so we'll just give this a name and give it a unit name. And then let's do 10,000 of these, and you can specify decimal points. So right now I'm putting 1 decimal point. So really I got 1,000.0 of these. You can specify a URL, you know, with this. If you want to go to IPFS or something like that, yeah, you can do that. And then let's go ahead and create this asset. So right now I am actually creating a token on the testnet blockchain, and it only takes 5 seconds, right? That's when a block is created. And now if we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see my Russ, Arizona address, and here's the creator address. I'm going to copy this right here. And then also you have the ability to send assets, modify assets, freeze assets, unfreeze, revoke, and delete. And I'll show you how to do this programmatically later on, but it's really nice to have a tool like this, right, that that you can use to generate these particular tokens. And then what I'm going to do here, let's go ahead and bring up Goal Seeker. And right now you got to pull down here for mainnet. You get the exchange rate, which is nice on here. So that's the rate for the algo right now is at looks like 28 cents. We'll go with the testnet environment. And what I could do now is, this is a Goal Seeker is one of a few different explorers that are available. So here is the account just created, and this is the information that's about that particular account. So there you can see the asset just created. I've got you know, a wealth of information, you know, about that particular account. And I think, what was the other thing we saw there on that? Let's go over to over here. This was the asset ID, right? So I can also go to, let's do another one here. This is the Algorand Algo Explorer. So on this one here, again, you got which network, mainnet, testnet, betanet, and I can do a search, for example, on the asset ID. And so now this will come up, and there's all the information that we did. You can see there was done about a minute ago. There's the transaction number, the from address. So this is these tools are really great, you know, when you are trying to, you know, do, you know, testing or whatever, you know. So this is, and, you know, and not just testing. I mean, you can, you know, query mainnet, and this is what we're talking about, it being an open blockchain. It's open to everybody. It's a public blockchain. So that's the idea there. And then let's talk about supply chain now. So with supply chain management, traditionally difficult to manage because of the information flow. And for those that aren't familiar with supply chain, basically you got a lot of sign-offs along the way. Examples, you know, in the drug industry, right? You got somebody that creates the drug, someone that distributes it, it goes to a pharmacy, and then it goes to the consumer. So that's 4 different sign-offs or handoffs that you got to do. And that flow is, you know, also representative of anything that comes in off of a ship, right? They have all this paperwork you got to do to you know, monitor that. So here's the solution, basically. Blockchain technology enhances the efficiency and transparency because it covers everything from warehousing to delivery. The data is more operable because it's all in the same data store. It's globally accessible. Share the data and information a lot easier between suppliers, manufacturers, vendors, and again, it's tamper-proof, and there's no fudging the data. You know, it is out there, it's on the chain, and this establishes trust. And that is probably one of the biggest points, you know, and one of the biggest fears, I think, of anybody doing business together is the ability to trust that. And sometimes you just don't, you know, you're praying that you can trust this person or trust this organization. And it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to do this blindly, you know, between any point and any point on this planet. And there should be no boundaries, right, for these kind of transactions. Get into more, one of my favorite ones. I don't know, Barry, if you remember Brenda Schabel. She attended a lot of the code camps, and she now is a cybersecurity expert. And really what this is all about is navigating the online world securely. And, you know, cyber attacks, they are targeted, they're complicated, and intricate pieces of malware and increasing threat, you know, professional cyber organizations. And what Brenda was saying, she attended one of my meetings. I did a blockchain session. I think it was for the Women Who Code in Tampa. And she says, you know how you have two-factor authentication as a method of security? Well, you multiply the effect of that times the number of blocks in the blockchain. And that is how secure a blockchain is. So data integrity and data security are two of the biggest features of blockchain technology. So the solution here, once again, protect businesses from cyber attacks. NASA implemented a blockchain like I was talking about. Prevents the denial of service attacks, because you don't know where the players are. You know, there are a couple different kinds of proofs of stake. The Algorand is a pure proof of stake, which is like all mathematical, like I indicated. None of the voters are known ahead of time. None of the players are known ahead of time. So there's no chance of a denial of service attack there. Where some other blockchains, this is known. You know where all the miners are at. You know, you could do denial of service attacks on the miners. So this also extends it to you know, centralized data centers, right? The same type of thing. So you know, it's not centralized is really the key here. It's not a centralized data store, it's decentralized. And blockchain enhances cybersecurity through this decentralized storage. It's a, you know, safety to the Internet of Things. You can run a node on a Raspberry Pi. That's how efficient it is. And now you've got a very secure way of capturing data and storing it as well by writing directly from that particular device. So secure private messages as well. And it gets better. The gaming
Is
is
this only for private? Is this only for private chains?
no,
like
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well?
Public as well. Yep. Yep.
Interesting. Can you describe some of the attacks around blockchain? Like, what's a 51% attack, and how does that work?
Well, a 51% attack would mean you have 51% bad players, and in the worst case, that would stall the network a little bit. But you know, most cases it's not going to do anything. You know, you're going to have enough of a consensus on good players to continue blocks being created. So I think that is really, you know, it would take a lot of money too. Number one, to get 50%, over 50% of control of the blockchain, an enormous amount of money. So again, that's another, you know, item where the probability is very low where something like that is going to happen. And, you know, the fact that it's distributed is really a big benefit. There's no, you know, attacks on data centers or centralized key points of the network. You know, it's all distributed. So that's kind of the thought process that was gone into blockchain from day one, is the fact that it is decentralized and there is no, you know, data center that you can crack into. It's out there. You know, people can just use it. That make any sense on that?
Yeah, it does. It sounds like, though, if I have a private chain, that may not be the case. Is that right?
Private chain, you have authentication. You probably can control that through the authentication and identity management. It would be my guess on a private chain. I haven't used private chains too much. I really only been focusing on public ones.
Okay, thanks.
All right, great, good questions. All right, keep them up. I love it. So gamers are at the mercy of game developers, right? In this day and age, players are bound to the developer's server space. Developers change the rules sometimes. So maybe they might change their token programs, and maybe one time you had, something that was very valuable. Maybe it's not, and developers hold the power to change or remove items as well. And players are merely licensees is really the bottom line. Well, the solution here in the gaming industry, things like gods and chains, like flips that script. The gainers truly own the assets. Once they have them, they have them. And the player is in control of ownership, of management, of maintenance. So this really puts a whole new twist on the gaming industry. And one thing I'm very excited about are our gaming solutions on blockchain. I think this is going to be an area that really explodes, and so we'll take a look at that as well. Crowdfunding, another great scenario, right? My nephew David just went through some crowdfunding on a chess set he designed, and stacks up right into your hand, and really spent a long time designing this thing. He's like an engineer over at Bose full time, but he did this on his own. And man, I think it was like over $500,000 were raised with this thing on a really killer chess set. So I was very happy for him. But the problem is here, you got lack of trust among participants. Investors need to trust the inventors, and the inventors need to trust the investors, right? There's no getting around that. And again, there comes that matter of trust again. You got to be able to trust people that you're dealing with. And the audit trail, where's the audit trail on this? This is anything that requires an audit trail. Guess what? Blockchain's got it built right in. And so that's already figured out. So the solution then that makes this process safe is it offers transparency access globally, and provide secure automated approach to crowdfunding. And terms of agreement are defined in computer code. You have things like atomic transactions, where you have maybe, not only do I have to receive some algos, but I also have to issue you tickets for those. And if both of those don't happen, then neither of them will happen. It's kind of like a database rollback, and I'll talk more about that as well. And investors raise funds in hopes of success, get a return on investment, new skyline for many of the investors that are out there. And it's a new way to raise funds by having a blockchain approached crowdfunding solution. So interesting food for thought, huh? Now, the content on entertainment distribution. A lot of artists very, very concerned. Some of the traditional challenges on content distribution, it's not a decentralized approach. It's difficult to determine which artists are affected. Maybe you got multiple owners of particular asset or particular piece of content, as well as other copyright holders, perhaps. Lacks sales transparency, lacks an audit trail. There's that audit trail word again. Piracy, is huge in the music industry and other video industries, and you name it, right, with entertainment. So the solution might be using blockchain that eliminates the piracy, because you have everything written on the ledger. It's recorded and also offers a personalized content experience. You can create your own type of assets, like I just showed you visually. Content copyright tracking now becomes globally accessible. And this is really part of the problem in a lot of these scenarios. Maybe you've got a geo where you can access this data very easily, but then you got to think about, how is this copyright affected in another continent, in another country? So things like that you start thinking about, and provides opportunities for seamless payment transactions globally. Let's take a look at this. So I've got a Algo Signer is another tool that came out. I think PureStake made this one. And it's basically a Chrome extension in the Chrome Web Store. And I've got it right up here. I'm going to go ahead and put in a password. And go ahead and log in. And now what this is actually going to do is bring up a, a wallet that is going to have some information in it. And I'm going to just copy a address here that I need. There it is. So I'm going to set this over to mainnet now, or testnet. And what this does is Algorand has a wallet in the stores, Algorand wallet, and you can synchronize that with this algo signer. So right now I've got a testnet account. I got 88 algos in that testnet account. So if I want to globally, do transactions, I can just go ahead and do this anywhere in the world. I just got to have Chrome as a browser. I'm going to go ahead and send over, let's say, 3 algos, and I'm going to go to this address. And there's that note field that you can use for any purposes. And so now I'm going to go ahead and send this. And let's go ahead and then there it is. So there's my transaction ID. I'm going to copy it, go back out, and then again we can go over here to Goal Seeker. Let's go ahead and paste that in there, and instantaneously, well, we'll give it a second to maybe I did it. There it is right there. So now you can see that transaction to that particular account. 3 algos. There's AZ on the note field, and you could encrypt that, the note field to however you want to. And so that's it. I mean, it's very, very easy now to do transactions. Again, we're starting to see a lot of applications like this come out and be available to you. So once again, that is Algo Signer. That's a Chrome extension, and you'll have this deck for those links. Well, it doesn't end there. Healthcare is the one I really enjoy talking about, right? Treatment for a condition. Again, typically right now you got centralized server, suffers from fragmented data, delayed communications. I went to a new doctor about a month ago, and it's the same routine. Every time you go to a new doctor, you got to fill out paperwork that takes you a half hour to fill out. And it's like, why can't I just, access my own data and give it to you, And so these are the types of thought processes you can start to have when you start thinking about blockchain solutions. And, I ended up talking to the doctor about it. I gave him my blockchain 101 session when I went in there and visited him, So, it really, the important thing is you want to be able to get information where the treatment team can retrieve it, right? And the patient may not be able to provide that information. Maybe they're incapacitated, maybe they're injured, maybe they don't know, don't remember exactly. So there's a lot of holes right now with healthcare, the way things are working today. And then there's a vulnerability, right? Exposing sensitive data, data breaches. Once again, we're hearing a lot of data breaches in data centers. So the healthcare solution, basically, the blockchain provides transparency, interoperability, and security for storing medical records. Patients maintain the privacy. That's how it should be, right? Share medical information globally. Have it available. If I travel abroad, I want my medical records with me. And boom, you got it. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why I enjoy talking about it, because there's a lot of potential here for really making some killer solutions. And so you got faster data sharing while ensuring security and shared platform to multiple medical facilities, as well as easier collaboration between different providers, which is needed many times as well. Drug traceability, another big one. We talked about that a little bit up front. Yeah, you want to be able to, any supply chain type scenario, you want to be able to manage it from the beginning to the end and all the sign-offs along the way. Other use cases, tamper-proof charity organizations, Red Cross extensively misused fund. This was out of the China blockchain report for earthquakes back in 2008 and 2013. And what the ministry is using blockchain now is to improve the transparency of social services for tracking of donations and charity. Again, you got a, built-in auto log. Voting, need I say more? right? I think you get the idea, you know, with blockchain and how that could help things like voting, where you won't have any discrepancy whatsoever on the votes. You know, we actually have a voting solution we published on the developer site for Algorand, and you know, all the pieces are in there, and so at least the hard work's done. It'd be nice to see that come to fruition at least 4 years from now. Would be really nice. So anyway, Algorand use cases, we got plenty of them up there, algorand.com/use-cases. So I promised to give you kind of a lead in about developers and where we are with the job market in blockchain. I did a quick scan recently. Career Builder had 200 blockchain positions, Monster 1,800, Dice had over 4,600. And it's tough to kind of track down the exact number of blockchain developers. As of a couple of years ago, some of the numbers exceeded 100,000. And so I listed some of the resources there. You can do a little bit more research on that if you want, but you get the idea. It's the real deal. And I think, you know, developers, you know, I've been a developer my entire career. And one of the things I've been the most afraid of is latching onto something that's like a white elephant, a technology that is going to die out. And you spend all of these cycles, you know, learning a particular technology, and then poof, it's gone. It's like, oh my God, I got to retool now. I got to get up to speed on something new. And let me tell you, that sucks. That really sucks. So you really got to be very careful where you pick and choose the technologies you're going to invest your time and maybe advance your career. And I'm here to tell you, blockchain is one of those technologies. I mean, just look at all those use cases we talked about it, and how incredibly applicable blockchain is to all those scenarios we just discussed. All right, I'm going to take a little break here. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so you can see my mug here again. And I can look you in the eyes. Hi, everybody. How are you? All right. Hey, Q&A team, ambassadors, how are we doing? You got any questions that need any help with? Just speak right up if you do. Destiny, you can unmute yourself if you want and let me know how the queue is going. Or Summit.
So far, it looks okay.
Looks good.
Looks good. Brand chatter about like P for portability was a joke in HIPAA.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like AJAX stands for asynchronous rest and JSON.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see if I can find my chat window here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Nope, that's not it. I can't find my chat window at the moment. All right. Well, listen, if anybody's got an outstanding question, you can just pipe up right now.
Here's a question from Giles.
All right. All right. Thanks.
Is an app interacting with the blockchain using APIs considered a node contributing to the blockchain? Any safety features available to avoid mishandling?
The node is actually your instance of the distributed database, and the APIs would be talking to a particular node, right, when you're developing, and then when you do a transaction, there's an API function to broadcast it to the blockchain after the transaction is complete and written to the blockchain. So it's kind of like a combination of the things that were mentioned in that question. So basically, the API would be like a layer 2 application accessing the blockchain, and you can you know, write transactions and then record them to the blockchain and broadcast them.
Can you explain layer 1 and layer 2 again, please?
Sure thing. Yeah, layer 1 is on the blockchain itself, and I'm actually going to get into some layer 1 features in a second, so that should become crystal clear. But one of them we already looked at, the Algorand standard assets. That's done right on the blockchain. Anything you could query in these explorers that I showed you. Those are right on the blockchain. Those are all layer one. Anything like an address, a block, a transaction, an asset. We also got smart contracts we're going to talk about, atomic transfers. Those are all right on layer one and handled exactly and immediately on the blockchain. Then you start building solutions for those, and those would be layer two.
So the Chrome extension you showed is a layer 2 extension?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Layer
That's
two.
perfect. We've got one more question.
Yep.
How can you set your own Raspberry Pi node?
Yeah. Let me share the screen here. Once again, that's a great question. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Alrighty. I hate when this happens. All right. One second. There it is. Okay. It was hidden behind my PowerPoint. Okay. So let's go ahead and share screen again. All right. So I'm going to go out to GitHub. Actually, DevRel. And on the DevRel repository is exactly what you're looking for. There it is, Raspberry Pi RFD setup. So right here, this particular repository will go exactly on how to do that. And I'm also going to cover getting a node set up and the different ways that you can do that. But that's basically what you'd be doing. You'd be installing a node on that particular Raspberry Pi. And that just goes to show you how efficient you know, the Algorand blockchain is being able to actually run a node on a Raspberry Pi. So that is the, I'm going to actually, I'll put that into the window for the chat.
I see in the code it's linking to GPIO pins. What hardware is hooked into the Pi that allows it to do interesting things?
I am not sure. I haven't actually gone through this yet. This is on my to-do list. And I'm definitely not a Raspberry Pi expert by no means. But what I can do is, take this down, everybody. Again, what was on my first slide, Russ at Algorand.com. Any questions that you come up with after this or that one in particular, maybe you can email to me and I could follow up on that. Okay. And I'll do it that way. Okay, and all right, I'm going to ask my team here to paste that link I just put in our Slack into the chat window. All right, continuing on. Let's talk about, you know, why Algorand, and the pure proof of stake consensus is what we've been referring to. Well, number one, it's very efficient blockchain. It scales to billions of users. Enterprise speed, over 1,000 transactions per second, each block generated in less than 5 seconds. And we're working on speeding that up as well. Instant finality, there are no soft forks. You know, a transaction occurs, you know, and Bitcoin goes on a fork and then, no, it's going on over here now. And so instantly it's done. Very cost effective too, in case you're wondering about the cost per transaction, less than a penny. Very, very, very efficient, significant less than a penny. And this is just, you know, over a year. We went mainnet a year ago, June. And look at all these companies that are on board. You know, a lot of technical companies here up on top. I showed you a few of them: Algo Explorer, Goal Seeker. We also have Algo Signer, Algo Studio. We've got an IDE out there. Folks are writing. The community. You know what this reminds me of is when Visual Basic came out. and then you had this really strong third-party community building all of these controls and everything like that. I feel like it's deja vu here because I'm seeing this thing grow right before my very eyes. You know, you got PyTeal. This is a Python enabled compiler that will build teal code. We'll talk about teal code. That is what's used for our smart contracts, and more of those are in the works. You know, you get financial infrastructure between Binance and Coinbase. You know, we're on a lot of the exchanges. MyAlgo. You got all like lots of different wallet providers. Down at the bottom, you got all the applications. The Republic is in there. Moneyfold. You know, they're all listed there. Dust Identity. There's plenty of applications. So we're looking at about 10 million users on the chain by the end of the year, and estimating over 1 million transactions per day by the end of the year as well. You take a look in what happened this past year, you know, over 400 companies leveraging the platform on 60 global exchanges. We are one of only 2 blockchains with the top 2 stablecoins, USDC and USDT. Ethereum's the other one. And that's pretty impressive because there's over, I don't know, 1,900 blockchains last time I looked, and only 2 have that particular feature. Also, our SDKs, we got over more than 50,000 downloads of our SDKs. The great group I got here tonight, the ambassadors, that's like our MVP program. We are now over 400, actually close to 500 in that program right now. So a lot of growth here, and these are the layer 1 features, all right, that I've been referring to. Algorand standard assets, atomic transfers, and smart contracts. So let's talk about these. So at ASA, you basically issue your own layer 1 native token. I went through that demo where we actually created one visually. It has a lot of administrative functions. You can assign a manager function. You can assign a function for someone that wants to freeze accounts, or one that wants to claw back potentially that particular management role. There's anti-asset spam. There's spam protection built right in. You have to opt into an asset in order to receive it. So you can't just blindly send assets all over the blockchain. You know, the account has got to want it. And so a lot of goodness there. And this is all done right on the blockchain, all facilitated right there. Algorand atomic transfers. This is where you see you've got a person A is going to send 50 algos to person B. Person B is going to go send something to person A. None of this counts unless everything happens. And for those that are, you know, familiar with SQL Server, the analogy there is like a transaction in a SQL Server database. You can have several tasks that are part of that, but it is something that I think, you know, where if any one of those fails, everything gets rolled back to the way it was before any of that happened. So this guarantees exchange of goods. And again, it comes down to that matter of trust, where I know if I send this guy 50 algos, I'm going to get my concert ticket back. You know, that there's no question that that's going to happen, or I'm going to get my money back. One of those 2 scenarios. So that really helps facilitate doing transactions. Now we get to smart contracts. So transaction execution approval language, or TEAL. This is an assembler-like language. Once again, this is on layer 1, keep in mind, and we want this to be lean and mean and very, very efficient. So if you're thinking lean and mean, it's got to be assembler, right? No room for VMs, or no room for things that take a lot of memory and power, right, on the layer 1 itself. So you have tools now that are starting to be able to generate this TEAL code, like PyTeal. And so that's for a Python enabled compiler. And there are 2 types of smart contracts. We have stateless, which approves spending transactions. And something new that just came out in August, we had an August release update, and stateful, on-chain, global, and local storage. These are areas that you can define to have data access globally, or you can define them locally on a per user basis. So very, very convenient now, and very robust in terms of the type of contracts that you can make. The important thing to keep in mind here is you can combine, these are all combinable, right, with other Algorand technologies. So atomic transfers, Algorand assets, you can combine, you know, stateless with stateful contracts as well. And to kind of give you this scenario, this is actually a voting solution or voting scenario that combines a lot of these, right? So you have a voting commission account, issues a spending voting token that's consumed by an individual that's going to vote for candidate A. That's going to be validated by a smart contract. And this whole scenario here is atomically grouped. So either it all works or it doesn't. And then you increment the candidate vote total in global state. So now you have, you know, each user contributing, and then you're going to put a tick into the global state. So again, this is a solution we have documented on our developer portal. Here's another one, crowdfunding, same type of scenario, atomically grouped. You have crowdfunding with maybe a stateless smart contract, and then you have a payment from an escrow account to user one, and user one claims escrow funds, and then those become available now. And then you have a smartful, that's a new one, a stateful smart contract for a crowdfunding smart contract. And again, the whole scenario needs to work together. You can't have an investor invest and not get their money back if the crowdfunding is not met. Similarly, you have an inventor that you know, needs to get the money if it is met. And this is how you control it. You just keep it all atomically grouped, and this just works so nicely on the blockchain. So kind of get the lay of the land here a little bit. Let me go up a level here and kind of just talk first about accounts. There's three types of accounts. One is a standard account. You can associate that maybe with an individual, perhaps, or maybe a company has one standard account that they're using. Also, you have something called a multi-signature account. This contains multiple accounts where you identify a threshold. Like say you have a group of 5 accounts, and you can say the threshold is 2. So if any 2 vote on this and say, yeah, I accept this, this transaction, then you can sign off on that multi-sig account. And the final type of account is a logic account, and this is driven by a smart contract. And really what I'm talking about are all these little keys here. These are signing keys, right? Signing keys, again, like I pointed out, are things that like are in your wallet. That's what facilitates you to send money, right, somewhere. And let's talk about the 2 types of keys. You got a cryptographic pair here, the public key versus the private key. The public key you want available to everyone because that's how they're going to send money to you, right? They're going to send money to your public key. The private key is the one you want to keep a secret because that's the one you're going to use to send money with, all right, or algos or assets. And we actually just came out with a new feature in August called rekeying. Up until this point, those 2 were tightly bound together. Well, what happens if you have a private key and a public key, but you just want to swap out the private key? Maybe you've grown. Maybe you had a single account and now you want to go to a multi-signature account. Well, up until now, you've had to create a brand new public key, and there was no other way to do it. Now, what you could do, if you look at the scenario on the bottom, you got it tightly coupled here to begin with, and then you separate the keys. And now you can swap out who's signing. You can say, oh, I want to actually have a multi-sig account sign this transaction, or I want to have a logic account sign that transaction. And this is all facilitated by the additional field now on the transaction record called an authorized address. So you can see the rekeyed account is going to have an authorized address of this NFF account, which is a standard account for the spending key. So that's how it works. And it basically separates the public and private keys, assigns other authorized addresses to prove the transactions. And also the
public and private keys differ from like SSH public and private keys, like HTTPS public and private keys?
I think it's the same kind of scenario, right? The public key is available to everybody, and any private key that you have is needed to sign off on a particular transaction or send it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And the Algorand wallet was what I took a snapshot here on the left. The most recent version now also has the ability to rekey the account right through the wallet. You can do that programmatically, of course, as well. Okay, and then we got, you know, the authorization right here with the public address, and again, any one of the three scenarios we talked about. All right, I'm gonna do a little break here, show my face again before we get into the code and some really good stuff here, and just see if we got any questions. I'll stop the share here.
There was one question about pricing shortly
Yeah.
before you answered it, so I think we might be good.
Oh, okay. So we're in good shape then. Very good. All right. All right, everybody. Let's continue on then. Share the screen. Okay. So we're going to cover in this last section here are developers. We got SDKs. We got the developer portal, something called the sandbox. We're going to actually start doing some code, creating accounts in C#. I've got the sample app I wrote in Xamarin that will take a look at all the layer 1 features. Also, smart contracts will cover the REST API. We got some cool stuff there going on. Something called indexer as well, and how you can search the blockchain in a very efficient, fast manner nowadays. And a lot of community efforts going on. More SDKs, tools, apps. We'll take a look at our community page as well. To get the lay of the land, basically you've got testnet and mainnet that I've been alluding to. These are always mirrored with each other. And, you know, so the idea there is you create something in testnet, you know it's going to work in mainnet because it's the same protocol that's on each one of those. Betanet is where new protocol enhancements are made and before they go out to testnet and mainnet. And then you have something called private networks at the bottom, which can be any one of those. And what I like to think about that is not really private, but more of a personal network. You actually just run that right on your machine. And so that's something that I like to use that. A good scenario is when BetaNet is in flux and they're having a lot of updates, I like to have a consistent test space, right? When I'm creating my code against the BetaNet features, for example. And so now I've got my own private network that is not getting updated, and I've got something very consistent to test with. So very useful feature in terms of something like that. So then we got developer.algorand.org, and we got some really good stuff here on this particular site. This is where I spend a lot of my time, you know, doing content. And so what I'll do here is let's just go out and take a quick look at this. And we'll go ahead and bring up this site. Okay. All right. Hey, look what's up on this developer portal site, huh? First and foremost, right? VS Code and C#. Are you kidding me? How about that? I wonder who had that going there. Now that's not actually the home site. That's under tutorials, but I did just publish that today, so it shows up right down over here. So the lay of the land. Basically, we've got tutorials. Tutorial that is good. You know, I can show you right here. For example, the VS Code one. Typically the tutorials will have the code right in it or a link at the bottom for the code that they're showing. So here I show you how to install the extensions. So those that haven't hopped on board yet or haven't tried VS Code, this would be a great tutorial for you to go through. I show you exactly what to do by installing the extensions, the NuGet package manager, and then you know how you create a console app, and then generate and debug, and then you get to the actual code. And this is the code that we're going to be showing in the demo in a little bit. And then these are all the, you know, different points of the IDE, as well as the debugger, right? Where you can set your breakpoints, and you know you got local variables, all that kind of good stuff. So about a 30-minute you know walkthrough on that, but that gives you an idea of some of the content. We also have content on, you know, you can do filters on languages, you can do filters on, you know, how long it is. So those are all things that can be filtered on, and in terms of that. And then another thing we got are solutions. So on solutions, this is where I've got the build iOS, Android, and UWP using C#. We also have other solutions here. There's that crowdfunding one I talked about. There's the one on voting as well. Again, it gives you really the whole structure of the scenario and, you know, some code that goes along with it. Then finally, we got articles that are published all the time. And we all have members of the community publishing. There's Pablo from Rand Labs. He pushed one up there. You also have a lot of other, you know, tutorials. There's one here on getting started with Algorand that I wrote a little bit back ago. This is also another good one. A lot of good resources in here. Speaking of which, the documentation is over here, and this is where, you know, to start building, this is where you would go to set up your workspace, connect to a node, do your first transaction. And so the connecting to the node, there's I got a slide on that, different options you have for your nodes, but this is the area. It's like 1, 2, 3. You'll be doing your first transaction within 15 minutes. So pretty cool thing. You got all of the feature content. There's something on rekeying like we just talked about. So that's the information on doing the rekeying. Here's one on assets, and all of these have code samples typically at the bottom. You can see the different languages, both JavaScript, Python, and Java. There's the assets. You can just click on that. That'll go ahead and bring up our GitHub repository. V2 is our latest version that came out in August, and then you can see the different examples there for the code. So pretty good stuff there, and I think you know, that's kind of the lay of the land on that. Let me just take this off the screen here now and continue on. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to show you here too is the community projects. And so here, again, that was under documentation at the very bottom, community projects. I actually just updated this. This doubled in size like overnight. You've got some forums. We're on Discord as well. We got a Italian blockchain explorer, Unicamna, which is Italian for one economy. We got an algo signer added in there. I showed you that. We've got a API services. So this is, you don't have to have a node, right, to have SDK calls and build applications. You can use these services. They have nodes that you can talk to programmatically. PureStake is free for BetaNet and testnet. They do charge for mainnet. Algo Explorer by Rand Labs is just about published. I think what you got to do is click on the developer API. Oh yeah, they did update it. So you have, there it is, Algorand API v2, and there's another REST point for indexer. So if you click on the v2 right there, you can see all of the statements there, and something similar, like I mentioned with PureStake. Very good partners of ours. And then SDKs, right? There's the .NET SDK, compliant with .NET Standard 2.0. Hence, that's how I was able to build the Xamarin app. You got Algoduino SDK for the Internet of Things. I can't wait to play with that. Maybe I'll learn about the Raspberry Pi then. And then also you've got Algonaut provides some more JavaScript components, view components, and validation fields for kind of tags along with the JavaScript SDK. We got Algorand IDEs now. Algodesk IO, there was a piece to that I didn't show you, which was the Teal editor. And then also you have Algorand Studio, where you can quickly create ASA and ASC1. A lot of this stuff is brand new. A lot of smart contract utilities. This keeps growing. And then also framework components with Algorand React Native component. You got React, not native, Algorand React component, another React component, and then also Algorand Builder. It'd be really good to get a React Native component. That would be very similar then to Xamarin, being able to build cross-platform apps, as well as Unity would be a really good one to do, and Kotlin is another one that seems to be gaining speed. And then, you know, again, these are all communities things that are happening here. You got a notarization app. So this is like, you know, what artists might be able to use, or, you know, or anybody that needs kind of notarized documents. Again, handled all on the blockchain. Algorand, a cryptographic version of the game NIM, runs on layer 1, and then you have directly under proof of stake. And then you got Algo Tracker right here with Algo Tracker, you know, proof of concept materials tracking application leverages the note field, how they do it. So a lot of good stuff there from that. So let's continue on here with the next part. All right, so we take a look at the dispensers, and we take a look at the query facilities. Also, we have dispensers for betanet and testnet. You need to have algos in your account to do transactions, because there are transaction fees, right? They're less than a penny. And what we see here is you've got a betanet dispenser if you're working in betanet, and a testnet dispenser for testnet. No, there is no dispenser for a mainnet. That's a real deal when you get over there. Fast catch-up, recently announced too in August. We have catch points now that we can download, and we have command line tools as well. Goal is our command line tool, and what you could do if you want, you could start a new node. It used to take days to catch up. It'll catch up in minutes now with this catch up. So fast catch up is here, and I really welcome option to getting up and running quickly. I remember the first hackathon I helped out at in Boston over a year ago, and you know, at that time it was 8 hours. It's still long, but it was you know, that's a whole day of a hackathon, and you can't have a hackathon and people developing when you can't have a node accessible to do work on it. So anyway, those have been solved. This I want to spend a little time on. This is really high, all about nodes, and so you can create and run your own. We got Mac, Ubuntu, and other Linux distros like a Raspberry Pi. Also, you've got Windows, WSL, or for, oh God, I'm drawing a blank. That'll come to me. And then you also got PureStake and RAN Labs.
WSL2?
Thank you. That's it. Yep, WSL2. That's it. So that, you know, you can go, you create nodes in as well. And then you can access the SDK on platforms, you know, that don't have nodes right now. I did see a PR request for a native Windows node go in. We'll see how that goes. But right now, you have another choice as well, which is the sandbox. And all you got to do is install Docker, and then you'll be able to use the sandbox. And so that is something that is a good thing right across the board. And I'm actually going to show you that in this next demo. And what it does is it comes up instantly, and you can switch networks. You can go mainnet, testnet, and betanet. It is used primarily for testing, though, not a production environment, because as soon as you clean it or you know, switch environments, everything goes away, and it's not there's no longevity to it, you know. But the good news is it instantly caught up. As soon as you bring it up, it's caught up. So let's go ahead and show you that. So I'm going to bring up the sandbox. And so this is it. Basically, you'll see in a minute when we get into the code, there's two things you need in the code. One is the address of the node, and the other one is the token that you want to initially, you know, code up against. And this is all A's, very simple for the token, and the address is always a localhost in 4001. In fact, most of our demo code samples are preceded with that, so it just runs right out of the box. And then you see down here on the command line, at the bottom, I can issue a command to, let me get the real estate management here a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so I can do a sandbox command, goal, node, status, right? So now this will come back and it'll tell me All right, here's the last committed block. The sync time is 0, right? So when you are creating a brand new node, you'll see sync times greater than 0 until it is caught up. And again, you can use fast catch up to speed that up to a matter of minutes. And so this is great. Now I've got basically a running instance that I could talk to in any environment, including Windows. So this is how developers develop on Windows, is to use the sandbox. And now you've got a way to do that. So that one there, I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. I've got it running right now. And so I have some demos we're going to be actually using that with. And let's talk about some of the SDK functionality. Like I mentioned, Go, Java, JavaScript, and Python. A couple of daemons there. One is for Algorand. That's the majority of the work. KMD would be for like wallet type transactions. I think the community SDKs for C# is of the most interest for this crowd. And we actually have Riley is working on the V2 version. So some of those August features I mentioned are not programmatically available. They are available through REST APIs. So you can still use client, HTTP client, HTTP requests and response code to access those. Riley was telling me he thinks he's got about another month worth of work to have it caught up to the functionality of the August protocol upgrade and some of the August features, like being able to programmatically do a rekey, for example, those type of things. And then you've got start building, as we talked about that in our site. And then here we get to the quiz. All right, so scan this in. And what I need to do is start presenting this. And then I also have got to find the chat window. Let's go over to the poll. I'm going to start the poll. Bring it up over here. Kind of keep that there if you need it. And so this is our quiz, and there's 6 questions. The winner is in first place is going to get a $50 gift certificate.
It doesn't seem to work. I go back to ask a question.
No, let's see. Oh, it's on the last one. Oh, my bad. I started the wrong poll. I got to do the other one. Hold on, everybody. I'll get it for you right here. The quiz, that's the one I want to do. We're going to run this quiz. Okay, present mode. Okay, and I'm going to take this offline over here. Okay, and so now you can join the quiz. And I'm going to, you should all see the first question come up on the quiz, which is, what is the approximate price of an algo? Make sure we got enough participants. Let me go back and make sure about that. We got 8 of you doing it. I'm going to see if I can stop this for a second. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to clear this out and reset the results because I want to make sure everybody's on board here. And then I'll go ahead and start it up. And so let me do one thing here. Get this up here. I got to get a link for you. Okay, and then this, hey, team ambassadors, here, put this link I'm going to put in Slack into the chat window. I just want to make sure everybody gets it. Thank you. And And once we get everybody on board here, then we'll go ahead and start. All right. Now looks like we got 15 now. That's a good number.
Not on it.
This is the,
Doesn't seem to work.
it's not working?
Nope. You have a live interaction. Type a question.
Okay, I've got to present mode. I got to go present mode. And now I should be able to do that question again. Are you ready?
Do we have to restart?
I'm going to start it right now. Here we go. Activate the quiz. And I don't have any participants yet. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 of you in the running. Anybody still trying? 10. All right. All right, good. We got 11. Anybody needs more time to speak up to get on? All right, I'm going to take that as no. We got 13 of you, 14 of you now. All right, here we go. And ambassadors, you can do this too. All right, here we go. Ready? We're going to start the quiz right now. All right, what is the approximate price of an algo? You should all get this right. You had time to Google it. Okay. These are all 20 seconds each. All right, the correct answer on that one is 28, 93%. Good job. And the leaderboard, Rena is number 1. Okay, next question. All right, who is the founder of Algorand? Russ Fustino, Bill Gates, Ryan Fox, Sylvia McCauley, Jason Weathersby. 4, 3, 2, 1. Sylvia McCauley, 73%. Nice job, nice job. And thanks for the vote of confidence for whoever voted for me. And the leaderboard after this, running Joshua, Jesse, John, Chris Hood. Next question. Which product can create Algorand standard assets visually? Algo Signer, Algo Desk, needs to be done from code. It's a layer 1 feature of Algorand blockchain. While it is true that it is a layer 1 feature of Algorand blockchain, it's not visual, and it is Algodesk.io. Very good. Nice job. Let's see how the leaderboard is shaping up. We got Joshua on top now. All right, we're halfway home. The next question is going to be, what is the quickest way to get set up in your Algorand environment? Build your own node. Build your own node on a Raspberry Pi, Sandbox, API services, fast catch-up. And most of you got that one. Sandbox is the correct answer. Fast catch-up will get your node caught up, but it doesn't install all the tools and everything else that you do when the Sandbox, like for example, you saw me use the goal command right off the bat. So good stuff there. The next question. Oh, leaderboard. Let's see who's on top. Bring them back on top. And then what does the VRF stand for? Verifiable random function, verifiable reliability function, verifiable relay function, verifiable relevant function. All right, the correct answer is VRF is verifiable random function.
I think you should say them all again, Russ, just so we.
Oh, that was a tough one to go without stuttering on those. And we got Sumit on top, Barry in second. All right. Next question going to be, where was Russ Fustino born? Almero, Italy, Southborough, Mass, Newport Richey, Florida, Silver Creek, New York, Meriden, Connecticut, Urbandale, Iowa, Santa Rosa. I had to have a good, equal distribution question to break ties here. All right, a lot of people going with Newport Richie. The correct answer is Silver Creek, New York. That's south of Buffalo. That's where I hail from. And let's see who is in the finish and who comes up on top. It was Barry. Barry came on top, number one.
Okay. Not okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's all good. It's all good. And I just flipped over the results on that. So let's see if I could view results. Here we go. All right. Okay, well, we got our winner. So that is, I can't seem to get that display up automatically. This is the first time I ran this. So anyway, that's pretty cool. So thank you very much for participating in that audience participation thing. It is now, let's see, 10 of, and we're gonna go all demos here for here. We're probably gonna finish up maybe about 10 after, so a little bit later than I had planned. And we got some great demos to get going here. So what I'm gonna do is start bringing up VS Code. And the very first thing we're gonna show you is how to create accounts programmatically. And I've got VS Code ready to go on this one. All right, so what I'm going to do is point out this again, that those are your two key pieces to get going, right, to talk to a node. I'm just going to go ahead and run this. I have a breakpoint set, and basically what we see here is a account. You just use a new account to create your account. We're going to use the toMnemonic function to create the mnemonic. And we're going to print off both the account address and the mnemonic down in the debug console. And so I'm just going to hit run here. And we've got 3 accounts that are going to be created. And generally, I like to create 3 accounts because if you're doing testing with like Algorand standard assets, you can change roles on different accounts and things of that nature. So down below here, you can see you've got an account and you've got its mnemonic. So what I typically do is when I'm doing testing, I'll just copy off all of these 3 lines and I'm ready to go for, you know, coding. And what you could do when you're coding then is always, you can restore an account from the mnemonic. And that's what I'll show you in the code when I go to show you the Xamarin app. So I copied off that one address. So if I go out and go to say a dispenser, like the Algorand dispenser, now this is what you would need to do before you do anything else. You got to put some funds into it. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in that address, and this is the dispenser, and now it's a success. So now I got some algos in that particular account. So that's the basic process. And again, I have a tutorial written on this on the site, so you can actually build this right from scratch using that particular tutorial. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Algorand app, and let me go ahead and bring up simulator, and I'm going to go ahead and start this. And I do want to show you kind of the lay of the land here on this as well in the deck. If you take a look here, right here. So basically, we've got an iPad, iPhone version, both tablet and phone factor. We've got Android tablet and phone factor. We've got a Windows version as well. The keys I'm storing the keys in secured storage. It's part of the Xamarin Essentials package. Also, you have I've got a solution that I documented this entire app with up on the tutorial page. This is the community site. This was built on the November release. Once again, the August release updates are in progress, and the sample C# is a link for that, as well as the solution. So let's go ahead and go here and take a look at this code. So I'm running the application right now. The first thing you can do is specify which network you want to use, testnet or betanet. Also, there is a pure stake stand-up instance, and we have a hackathon instance that we use at hackathons, and those are basically for hackathon use primarily, but feel free to use those when you're developing, just not in production. And then also what I'm doing here is I'm using the sandbox. So this IP address that's in here cannot be a just the word localhost. You actually have to go and run your IP config and get your IP address for your machine and put that in here, and then everything will work. So that's kind of the first step. The second step is we want to go ahead and create accounts. I've already created 2 accounts. First thing I'm going to do though is show you the get block code. So on the left you can see the clicked event for that, and I'm going to go ahead and get my status, and from the status I can get the last round. So that is that 9456260 is the last round. That's going to go in here. Now I can get the block status for that round using the get block method. And what I'm using to display on the bottom, I got a little web view control. I did that because so you can copy from it but not modify it. Label, you cannot do a copy from. You can't select it. Text box you can modify. So I did the next best thing I thought and brought. If you got another suggestion, by the way, let me know if there's a control out there that behaves like a web view. But anyway, got the job done. So I'm going to continue here hitting the run button, and now there's the block information that comes back on the bottom of the display. So things like the hash number, the next protocol, previous block hash, proposer, the rewards, right? So if you got algos, you get rewards, right? So you make money that way as well. And I'm going to go ahead and generate an account here. So this creates the account like we saw in the other application, and then I'm going to use this to in the application. So I need funds first, right? So again, we're going to go out to the dispenser here. It goes right in the app. I automatically populate the field here, and it's going to make me do a little thing here on tractors. This should be interesting. That looks like a tractor. That's definitely a tractor. Everything else is too small. Take our chances. Oh, anybody see a tractor on there?
Upper left.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you're right. There it is. Good. That's audience participation, the way I like it. That's good. Thank you. I would have been there for a while. All right, let's go back to the app. Now you can get the account balance, and you can see here's the mnemonic, right? And then this is going to restore the account. So that's how you do it. It's still the account method, but it's taking a parameter, and that means go ahead and restore that account. So if I step over that line, you'll now see that this account is populated, and you can see the actual address right there. Okay, so that is what's going on there. Now I'm going to do a transfer. I'm going to transfer from account 1 to account 2, and you can see the balance there of the newly created account as well. Transfer. This is the process you go through every transaction. You got to do the payment first. So it's going from account 1 to account 2. Then you got to sign it. You got to sign the transaction. And so this is going to be signed by who? The sender. And then what's going to happen is once that's done successfully, you want to submit the transaction. This is what broadcasts it to the blockchain. And there's a 5-second delay. So there's a handy wait for transaction to complete in the utilities of the SDK. And that will basically wait to find that particular transaction that completes. So I'm just going to hit run, and then it should come up momentarily with that particular transaction that has occurred. And we're going to get rid of this breakpoint. we don't need that anymore. And there it is. So now we've got funds that have been transferred. And now you can see the account balance is not one with a bunch of zeros, but actually transferred some money. The next step is we're going to create a multi-sig account. So you're going to have to do the same thing. We need to get some funds created in that multi-sig account. Tractors again. It likes tractors now. There's one. There's one. There's one. I think that's it. Yay. Dispense. All right, good. So now we got funds in that account. So now I can go ahead and send to the account. So this is what it's made up. So I've got a collection of public keys right here. And that goes into the multi-sig call. And the first parameter is the version. The second parameter is the number of folks that have to sign off on it. And I do that down below. So I've got account 1 and account 2 signing on it. We're going to transfer from one of those accounts to account 3. And that is what is happening here with this signed transaction. And we're going to use the signed multi-sig transaction to do that on the first one. And then you notice the second method is to append it. So I'm going to append the multi-sig transaction to the existing one I have. And then we're going to pass that multi-sig into the call. And so now I'll go ahead and complete running that. And now I've got the multi-sig created. And after that's done, I can go ahead and also get the balance on that one. So that is the creation and then the transfer. So now let's take a look at standard assets. You notice everything on grade because I've got 3 accounts now to do the rest of these pieces with. So in Algorand standard assets, the very first thing we want to do is create an asset. And so to create an asset, this is going to I'm going to get, first of all, asset parameters. So I've got the creator account is going to be the one, account 1 is going to be the creator. I've got an asset name that I've got to fill. And then also I've got the unit name, all the things that I entered visually when we did this initially is what's listed there. So I'm going to just go ahead and go forward. And now you can see I've got a get function to create the asset transaction. And with all of those parameters populated, and I'm just going to hit run here. And then what's going to happen is it's going to broadcast that to the internet, to the blockchain as well. And so this will get created. And now you see this on highlight. Now that I've got the asset created, I can do a few things. I can go ahead and configure the manager role. So by configuring the manager role, what this is going to do now is stop on this asset information that I'm going to populate here. But basically, this is going to have the information in it to go ahead and change the role. And you'll see the roles come up on the bottom here. Once I do this, so there's the config call, config asset, and I'm going to configure account 2 now to be the role. So right now the creator was this four dog account, and all of them were set to NM manager and the reserve address. And what we did with that particular transaction is we changed the freeze address one to 4 dog as well. And then, as I mentioned, you have to opt in to receive a asset. So this is the opt-in call to opt into the transaction. Same deal, sign and then submit. And so this just takes which account is going to be signing in. So we're going to say account 3 now wants to receive receive this asset that we created. This Telecom 22 is the asset name. And then now we have transfer is enabled. So now I can go ahead and transfer the asset from account 1 to account 3 because account 3 has opted in. So there you go. You see the sender address, and then this is the receiver address, and we're going to transfer. And then also you could do things like freeze the account. So maybe you got a game you're writing and they're in the doghouse, you know, and you got, oh, you're freezing your account. You know, you can't do any transactions now. And so now I got the freeze asset function there as well that you can utilize. And The final one is revoke. So this is a clawback function. So right now, account 3 has 10 of these. And what I'm going to do is revoke that and basically claw it back to the original count. So account 1 is now going to get that, and account 2 is the manager, if you recall, for that particular clawback function. And now you can see the asset amount now is now 0 at the bottom of the screen. And finally, if you do hold all of the assets, you can do a destroy account, and that's just the destroy asset transaction. So that's the lay of the land with assets. And then the last one here is the second last is atomic transfers. So this is where we're going to have account 1 to both account 2 and 3. So if you take a look at the call here, we are basically going to assign 2 transactions to this. The first one and the second one. We're going to group both of these together. And then we are going to add those into our list that's going to get fed into the raw transaction, which is this one that goes ahead and disperses it through the blockchain. And so now you can see both of these are contributing to it, and both of these have to happen successfully. And once that is determined, then it would go ahead and issue that particular transfer. Okay. And then the last two I'll show you here are revolving around smart contracts. And there's 2 here. We've got one that is basically a contract oriented, and the other one is account delegation. So the contract account is done through just basically an LSIG program. And so what I have here is a contract account. I'm going to have a program here, which is in bytecode it1. And there's ways to generate this in the SDK as well. And what this is always going to return true. So that means that this LSIG program is going to return true, and which, you know, all a smart contract is something that returns true or false. If it returns true, you can sign with it. If it returns false, you can't sign a particular transaction. So that's what I'm going to run here right now. I'm just going to go ahead and fire this off. So this particular LSIG has been entered into the transaction. I'm going to sign it and then go ahead and do the transaction. So you should see a success. Now, the account delegation is very similar. And what the account delegation does is it will have it's the same thing we're going to load in here. But there's also an account that needs to sign on it as well. And here is the account. So we're going to have the actual account sign off it in addition to the LSIG returning true. So both things have to happen here. And this is useful in escrow accounts, right? Being able to manage those and sign off by someone else in addition to the smart contract. And that's really the purpose of the account delegation approach to the smart contract. And that's it. That is, you know, all the examples here from the code. The thing I did want to show you is the API calls, right? So on the API page, and this anybody ever see the run in Postman little widget on developer sites? I love that, and I just put it in today. And this is basically, I'm going to show you Indexer next, which we're going to hit this run in Postman. We're going to go ahead and open this up in the Mac. For those that aren't familiar with Postman, it's basically an API testing tool. And what it did, it just copied in an Indexer copy collection. Right here is the one that got copied in, and these are all the endpoints already, you know, ready for you here with the numbers in them. And I also copy in automatically. If you edit the entire collection, you can see the variables are already set to the local host. And I have this running on my system, and the default address is this, the port is 8980. And so what I could do is I could show you a few of these here. For example, I can bring up the account by ID, and actually let's look up account transactions, this one right here. So on this one, if you take a look, there are several parameters on looking up transactions. One of them is I want to find all the transactions for a particular asset ID. But you could also, you know, and I always thought about this, if I'm running a game, I want to look up, for example, all the accounts maybe that have a particular transaction. So Indexer is the way to do this. And it's basically populating a Postgres database that I have set up that has all this information in it. And this one here, I'm just going to send this so you can see what it looks like. It's going to go ahead and do the response. And now you can see I've sent the request out for a particular asset ID. And this is the transactions that are associated with that particular ID. Similarly, you can do like a lookup a block. This is a block that was created earlier today, and this is all the information that's associated with the block. And you saw that actual call in the SDK. This is just doing it through the REST API. And how about searching for transactions using a timestamp? So what we can see here for the parameters, you got many different parameters again to do search transactions, but this time I'm going to give it a timestamp, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to specifically see, you know, the timestamp for that particular, you know, transaction. So you can even get down to that level of detail. And then let's do a search for assets. Right here. So on the search for assets, I'm going to search for the creator. And this comes back with an asset for that creator. If I do it without anything, and I just search on all the assets on the blockchain, you're going to get a lot. And what we do is we have a field that comes at the end of the chunk. I forget what the chunk consists of, but there's a next token. And what you can do is you can say, okay, give me the next chunk based on that token. And then you could read through, you know, the entire set multiple times by just putting it into a loop. But that's a nice little feature. And then the last thing was my scenario I told you about, where I want to look at you know, for a particular asset and run that, and then now that particular asset comes up as well. So that is it in a nutshell. We are complete. Let me go ahead and bring back the deck, and I'll do a summary, and then we got to do the drawing for those that did sign up for the developer newsletter. And let's go ahead and start right here. So we do have a lot of community programs. Foundation, the Algorand Foundation is a separate company. That's the money side of the house. I work for Algorand Inc., the technology side of the house. We've got an ambassador rewards program like we talked about. There's a DevAms as well. If you write like a solution or something like that, you can become a developer ambassador. We got grant programs. So a lot of folks are looking at grants and getting funding through Algorand for great project ideas. And just send Stephen here at the Algorand Foundation an email, and he'll get you more information on becoming an Algorand ambassador. A lot of community stuff in terms of our community page and our forums, as well as this is the where the PowerPoint is, and we'll see if we can get my team to put that into the channel as well. So you all have that. All right, if you guys, ambassadors, one of you guys can paste that in, appreciate it. And let's go ahead and do our drawing. So I got to get out my phone here. Oh, the code samples are on this slide. So when you download that deck, you will see, you know, these links to get that iOS app that I showed you, as well as the solution article, the SDK page, and then the using C# tutorial as well. And I'm going to bring up my mail. And so in summary, we covered a lot tonight. Hopefully it gave you a better awareness of what blockchain's about for those who are brand new to it. Also, you know, really some great ideas and planting a few seeds in different vertical markets where blockchain is really a great solution. And we covered a lot of features, all the layer 1 features. We covered some of the new things that just came out in August, a lot of community updates and products we showed you along the way with Algo Signer and Algo Desk. Lots of C# showed. I can't tell you how good that felt to walk through some C# and do some debugging with you. I would appreciate you if you can please fill this out at some point. I'm going to post this, have the ambassadors also put this in the chat window there. And this is just a quick survey on tonight's session. I really welcome the feedback. Let me try copying this again. I didn't. Oh, shoot, I put the PowerPoint there instead of the, well, I know the, whatchamacallit, the QR code goes to the right place, but I screwed up on that. Let me see, I got the link in my notes. Put this up here. All right. Not that one. All right, this is the right one. All right, the survey is right here. All right, Summit, if you're still on, could you please paste that in, or one of you guys? Thank you. And we will do the drawing, and the drum roll is. All right, we got Giles Du Brodeau. If you are still on, yes, I see you clapping. Please send me a link in the channel. I'm going to stop sharing. Maybe I can find that chat window. Just send me a private message. Now I see the group chat. Very good. And send me. Make sure I've got your email right. In fact, I can probably tell you what I've got here. Let's see if this is it. Giles. Giles, I don't see
Russ,
on the
since
list
we're
there.
recording,
Yeah.
let's not read his email out for everyone.
Yeah, right. I'm not reading it out. So
Okay.
I'm just going to say, is that it? I'm sending it to him privately. I don't see him on the user list. Are you in there? Something else besides Giles?
It looks like he might have dropped off.
Oh, okay. Well, I will hope it goes. I will send him a test email first, make sure it works, and then I'll send him the card. How's that sound? We'll do it like that. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Anybody got any other questions or anything they want to share right now?
Thanks, Rusho.
This was great, Russ. Thanks.
All right. Glad you appreciate it. Barry, thank you very much for getting this going, man.
Thank you, Russ. This was awesome again. And I'm looking forward to next year. Hopefully you can come out and actually be here with us and do something just as interesting and more fun.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Boy, that's just like, you know, it's having a hard, you're having a hard time picturing something like that right now, you know, but yeah,
Right.
hopefully we'll get there. Thank everybody for, you know, having your cameras on, and Ambassador team, thank you very much for helping out tonight. Really appreciate it. I will see if I can get a copy of the log here and we'll be all set. All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.